James.
Well, so I want to ask you then, Colonel Kemp, where does this go? I mean, are we in a situation now where you've got morale on one side, you've got a massive Russian troops and equipment on the other side? Do you wind up with a long-term stalemated position in Ukraine? What is the end game? And, is there any reasonable chance that you can talk about some sort of way to settle this without escalating it, or with just being a long war of attrition, 5-10 years of Ukraine being ground up between both sides?
Well, it might be a long war of attrition, or it might be a shorter war. I don't see any way of a negotiated peace myself, because both sides are so far apart. Putin can't possibly, let's say, return to the February 2022 lines on which he started the invasion. He can't do that. He's lost so much in Russia, so many people killed, so much economic damage, so much isolation in the world. He's hugely damaged Russia. He's got to have something to show for it. And on the other hand, Ukraine, President Zelensky has made it very clear he's not going to submit to Russia and not going to assign to them any land that they've taken in this war. So we're in a position where you can't really have a negotiated peace. I think peace is only going to come by a decision on the battlefield, by one side or the other winning. Now, I wouldn't like to predict which side is going to win. It's very difficult to say. We've got Russia much stronger in manpower terms and in terms of weapons of war and ammunition. And the only way that Ukraine can prevail, I think, is, as I mentioned just now, is for much greater support from the West. They've received a lot, but they need a lot more.
Rita.
Well, the appetite to give them a lot more has changed, particularly in the US. The polling shows that people who were previously supportive of the packages and the resources given to Ukraine are now saying enough. Tell me about the politics of that. How can the US continue to pour billions into this battle when the population is no longer as supportive of these measures?
Well, it's very difficult, and I think so far the US has been actually quite cautious in the support they've given. They've waited until almost the last possible moment to provide the key equipment that Ukraine needs. And obviously President Biden's mindful of the those people who don't want to support Ukraine or don't feel that it's the US's job to be doing so. I think while the current administration continues in Washington, we will see continued levels of support. In Europe, it's also problematic. We're seeing a drop in the number of people. I think in polling shows that the number of people supporting continued backing of Ukraine is dropping because people are getting, frankly, bored with the whole thing, and they're also suffering economic damage. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a real long-term problem. And I do think, I believe we should continue to support Ukraine. We should increase that. But it will take a lot of political resolve by leaders on both sides of the Atlantic to do so.